उमज्ञान्तिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। So welcome all of you all for our SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM overview course. Hare. So welcome all of you all for our SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM overview course. So today we are going to discuss first canto chapter 5, which is called Narada's instruction on SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM for Vyasadeva. So 2-3 weeks ago we discussed chapter 4. Last 2 weeks because of Diwali and Yatra we were not here. So we had discussed chapter 4. Anyone remembers in essence what we had discussed in chapter 4? Anyone remembers? Remember little at least, na? Three questions. Very good. I didn't expect it. So chapter 4 basically begins with Shaunakadi Rishi asking Sutta Goswami 3 questions. What are the 3 questions?
First question is regarding.
Yes.
First question is regarding Srimad Bhagavatam. Where, when, how, and whose inspiration he compiled the all Srimad Bhagavatam.
Correct. First question is regarding Bhagavatam. Why did Vyasadeva write Bhagavatam? Where did he write it? And what was the need for him to write Bhagavatam? What was question number 2? Yes, Saurabh Prabhu? Wait, one at a time.
It was about Raja Parikshit. Raja Parikshit was the Uच्च Koti ke Bhakta. He was the high level of Bhakta. And what are his different karmas and how was he born? They want to know more about.
Correct. Very good. So second question was they wanted to know about Parikshit Maharaj. Because Parikshit Maharaj was a great devotee of the Lord. They wanted to know about the birth of Parikshit, the activities of Parikshit, and the death of Parikshit. How did Parikshit Maharaj depart? What was the third question? About Shukadeva Goswami. How did he meet Parikshit Maharaj? And Shukadeva Goswami is a liberated soul. What was the need for him to hear Bhagavatam and recite Bhagavatam? Basically about Shukadeva Goswami. So these were 3 questions. So the first 13 verses, the 3 questions are asked, and immediately from verse number 14 of, we are discussing chapter 4, verse number 14 onwards, Sutta Goswami begins to answer question number 1. Why did Vyasadeva write Srimad Bhagavatam? So we saw that Vyasadeva, he understanding that people in Kali Yuga will have very less intelligence, very less memory, they will not be able to understand scriptures. Vyasadeva divided that one Veda into 4 Vedas. He wrote Itihasas, Puranas, everything. But after writing all the Vedic body, Vyasadeva was still dissatisfied and was not feeling very happy. At that point, Vyasadeva begins to contemplate why is he not satisfied, and he gets an answer. What is the answer that Vyasadeva gets?
Because he's not
He
writing
didn't
about
explain
Krishna
it.
Bhakti.
Because he has not glorified Krishna sufficiently. All the Vedic literatures, they speak about Krishna, but not as much as it should be spoken. So therefore Vyasadeva feels dissatisfied. And right at that point, Narad Muni enters. It's like a perfect arrangement. Vyasadeva is wanting to find out the reason of his dissatisfaction, and Narad Muni enters the ashram of Vyasadeva. And the chapter concludes with how Vyasadeva, he gets up very respectfully to honor his Guru Narad Muni. So that's how the chapter ends. So this particular chapter that we are going to discuss is a long chapter. Hopefully we will complete it today. It's a long chapter and a very important chapter. Probably one of the most important chapters of this canto also, the first canto. Chapter 5, Narada's instruction on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. So this chapter is divided like this. The first 7 verses, Narad Muni quickly inquires and responds, and Vyasadeva responds to Narad Muni's inquiry. So Vyasadeva, Hare Krishna, you can put your mobile in silent. So Vyasadeva was wanting to find out the reason for his dissatisfaction. Narad Muni, he is glorifying Vyasadeva and he is trying to find out from Vyasadeva, why are you dissatisfied? That time Vyasadeva tells Narad Muni, my dear Narada, please try to find the fault in me. You are like the air, you are like the sun, you are like the super soul who can actually enter into my system. So Vyasadeva is glorifying his Guru. A Guru is one who can actually study the heart of a disciple and gives a particular answer or gives a guidance to the disciple. So in this way, Vyasadeva, he is humbly submitting himself to Narad Muni and is trying to find out what is the reason for his dissatisfaction. That is the first section, verse number 1 to 7. The second section, Narad Muni straight. So what is Vyasadeva's question? Vyasadeva is asking Narad Muni, why I am dissatisfied? Narad Muni, right in the beginning, verse number 8 and 9, Narad Muni gives 2 reasons why Vyasadeva is dissatisfied. इतना सब पुस्तक लिखने के बाद ही व्यासदेव असंतुष्ट है, 2 कारण. The first is because he has not glorified Krishna sufficiently, insufficient glorification. And second is, he has overemphasized the 4 Purushartha, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. We will come to this. I'm just giving you like an idea of this chapter and then we will get into this chapter. Okay? So that is the first 2 verses of this section, 8 to 9. Then Narad Muni gives 2 categories of literatures. There are 2 categories of books. One book is for materialistic people and there's a book for spiritual people, transcendental book. What is the difference between these 2 books? Narad Muni explains. And then Narad Muni explains how ultimately the only valuable asset is bhakti. And Vyasadeva should have emphasized this more and more. Vyasadeva didn't emphasize the process of bhakti. And Narad Muni concludes this section by saying that in the path of bhakti, whatever progress one has done is never lost. It is never lost. Even if one doesn't complete the process in this life, in the next life you will start from where you have stopped. And then Narad Muni instructs Vyasadeva to glorify Bhagavatam and glorify the Lord more and more. So this is section 8 to 22. Then 23 to 31, Narad Muni explains his own life. One is now he's instructed Vyasadeva to write Srimad Bhagavatam. Now Narad Muni is telling about his own previous life, how by hearing Bhagavatam from the great sadhus, Narad Muni got the body of Narada. He was the son of a maid servant in a previous kalpa, in his previous birth. And because he associated with the sadhus, he heard about Krishna, he practiced bhakti the way the sadhus taught him, he got the body of Narad Muni. So Narad Muni through his own life is giving like an example also. So Bhagavatam is just not philosophy. To support the philosophy, there is a case study, there is an example. So Narad Muni is giving his own example. I have reached this stage where I can see Krishna face to face, but my whole process started with the process of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So please write about Srimad Bhagavatam so that so many other people can also become like him. So many other people can also become completely transcendental. And then Narad Muni concludes his advice 32 to 40. He says that ultimately two things Narad Muni mentions. One is the process of hearing, Shravanam, and the other is we all have to do certain activities in this world. Everyone has a certain duty to do. Someone is a Brahman, someone is a Kshatriya, someone is a teacher, or whatever duty they have. So Narad Muni says how through the process of Karma Yoga, verse number 32 to 36, how one can engage all one's activities in Krishna service. And Narad Muni concludes by saying that sound vibration, hearing about Krishna is very, very important. When we hear about Krishna, then all the anarthas in one's heart are removed and one attains the Lord. So Narad Muni concludes this whole chapter. This 37 to 40 is a conclusive section. He concludes this entire chapter again stressing Vyasdev, please write a book called SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, which will contain right from the start till the end only the glories of Krishna and not speak about here and there. That's how Narad Muni concludes. So I just give you an idea of this chapter. We will get into this chapter, but a very important chapter for devotees to understand. Many people have this question that what is Vedas, what is Srimad Bhagavatam, what is Bhagavad Gita? As devotees, do we need to read Vedas? Right? All such answers will be answered here because these are two greatest authority. Vyasdev having a discussion with Narad Muni on Srimad Bhagavatam and Vedas. A great chapter to be understood. So let us try to get into this chapter by seeking the blessings of Narad Muni and Vyasdev. So this is the first section, verse number 1 to 4. You all can repeat verse number 1. Suta uvacha atatam sukam asina upasinam brahachrava devarshi partha viparshim vinapani smayantiva. So we saw in the previous chapter, Narad Muni comes and Vyasdev is welcoming Narad Muni. So this chapter begins with, after Vyasdev has given a seat to Narad Muni and Narad Muni sat there, Narad Muni begins his inquiry. And how does Narad Muni begin his inquiry? Vinapani smayan iva. Narad Muni is smiling. So here Vyasdev is crying. Vyasdev is despondent. He's completely dissatisfied. And Narad Muni is smiling. We find a similar example in Bhagavad Gita. This is Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the start of Bhagavatam. And you find in Bhagavad Gita same setting. Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, completely confused. Arjuna is Ashru Purna Kulekshanam. The Bhagavad Gita explains Arjuna's eyes are filled with tears. So Arjuna is shown as a person who's crying. And how is Krishna shown? Prahassan Ivan Bharata. And Krishna is smiling. Generally when someone is crying and looking at him, the other person smiles, it looks like, this person is very, he doesn't have any compassion, he's not feeling empathetic to this person. But actually, to cure crying hearts, the person who needs to cure should have a smiling heart. If this person is also crying and the other person is also crying, how can you cure? Right? So the solution to crying hearts is smiling hearts. Anyone who has smile in their hearts, they can actually cure. So Narad Muni is smiling. And why is Narad Muni smiling? Because Narad Muni already knows the reason for Vyasdev's dissatisfaction. He already knows it. In fact, he is just asking these questions as a matter of formality. But he already knows and he has come here to help his disciple. So a guru's role, a guru literally knows what is happening in a disciple's life. And a guru is always there to help the disciple progress. So Narad Muni is questioning Vyasdev. What is this question? Text 2. Narada uvacha parasharya mahabhaga bhavata kachit atmana pratitushyati sharira atma manasa evava. So Narad Muni is asking Vyasdev, Parashcharya Mahabhaga. Who is Vyasdev? Vyasadeva is a great soul, and Vyasadeva is the son of Parashar Muni. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Lord Krishna addresses Arjuna, O Bharata, or descendant of Bharata. Why does Krishna address, or Krishna calls Arjuna as Kaunteya, the son of Kunti? So Krishna is trying to make Arjuna or remind Arjuna of his family, a great family that he's come from. Hey Arjuna, you have come from such a great family and you're crying like this, you're so despondent, doesn't suit you. So Narad Muni is addressing Vyasadeva. Oh Vyasadeva, you're the son of the great Parashar. But what are you doing? You have identified yourself to be the body and mind. Paritushyati sharira atma manasa evava. So in this question, Narad Muni is questioning Vyasadeva, but in the question only there is a subtle answer. So Narad Muni is asking Vyasadeva, are you satisfied by identifying yourself as the body and mind? The question is, are you satisfied by identifying yourself as the body and mind? So Prabhupada explains here, in this question, Narad Muni is giving an answer or a hint to all of us that none of us can be satisfied if we think we are the body and mind. Satisfaction can come only when we think we are Atma. On the level of body and mind, there cannot be any satisfaction. So Vyasadeva, he has written the Vedas, but many of the parts of the Vedas, he is helping people get sense gratification. It is helping people identify with the body and mind. And therefore, Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva, you are not satisfied because you have not spoken something on the level of the Atma. You have still given people a philosophy that is very, very diluted. We understand diluted things, na? All of us like pure milk or diluted milk? Pure milk, na? No one likes diluted. So similarly, Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva, you have given milk to people, nourishing substance to people, but it is diluted. It is diluted with subject matters of body and mind. Therefore, you are also not satisfied. And Narad Muni tells Vyasadeva, my dear Vyasadeva, why you have to be dissatisfied? You have done all your studies well, you have worked hard to write Mahabharata, everything. Still, why you are feeling dissatisfied? So Narad Muni has given a hint to Vyasadeva, but still he is asking Vyasadeva, what is the reason for your dissatisfaction? And in text 5, Vyasadeva responds. This is a very important verse. Vyasa uvacha asti eva me sarvam idam tvayoktam tatapi natma paritushyate me tanmulam avyaktam aghadabodham prachamahe tvatma bhavatma bhutam. So Vyasadeva says, my dear Narada, what you have said is correct. I have done all my studies perfectly. I have written Vedas for the welfare of others, not for his own glorification. I have done everything perfectly, but still I am dissatisfied. I am not pacified. So therefore I am questioning you the cause of my dissatisfaction, because you are a great personality. So Prabhupada explains here that someone on the level of Vyasadeva, whose Vyasadeva is an empowered avatar of the Lord, he's written the Vedas. But Vyasadeva also, when he is in problem, he can't solve his own problem. He has to go to his superior guru. So the need of approaching a guru is for everyone. It's not a luxury, it is a necessity. If we want to solve problems in this world, we need a genuine guru. And who is a guru? Vyasadeva is telling Narad Muni, you can help me because you are the disciple of Brahma. And who is Brahma? Brahma is the first son or the disciple of Krishna. So who is a guru? A guru is one who is in proper parampara. So when you take shelter of a proper bona fide guru, that guru can help you out, because a guru is an agent of Krishna. Just like you have a cloud, the cloud pours water, right? When there is heat, the land is burning, the cloud comes and pours water. But does the cloud have water of its own? The cloud collects water from the sea and then pours it on the land. So a guru is like that cloud. What does guru does? The Guru gets knowledge or mercy from Krishna. He doesn't have his own mercy. He gets mercy from Krishna and he just goes and pours it to someone else. That's the role of a Guru. So Narad Muni is that transparent via medium between Vyasadeva and Krishna, and Narad Muni is come in Vyasadev's life. So Vyasadeva is very, very humble. So this is the start of SRIMAD Bhagavatam, and similarly we see the start of Bhagavad Gita. So Vyasadeva is surrendering to Narad Muni and it's telling Narad Muni, please, you find fault in me. It's not easy to say that. It's not easy to say that. You require a lot of guts, you require a lot of courage, you require a lot of humility to go in front of someone and tell them, please find the fault in me and correct me. No one likes correction. And someone who is like Vyasadeva, I was explaining last time, in our Vedic calendar we have the day of Guru Purnima. You know what is Guru Purnima? Guru Purnima is Vyasadeva's birthday. The birthday of Vyasadeva is celebrated as Guru Purnima because Vyasadeva is the Guru of the entire world. But this Vyasadeva, who is the Guru of the entire world, he still humbles himself in front of his Guru. So that is the mode. Generally when someone becomes a Guru, there is so much pride that comes. But Vyasadeva is not at all proud. Very, very humble in front of his Guru. Similarly, Arjuna, who is such a great warrior, he comes in front of Lord Krishna and says, Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. My dear Krishna, I am a fool. I am a surrendered disciple. Please instruct me. Please correct me. So this is the start of Bhagavatam and even Bhagavad Gita. The start is to submissively surrender in front of Guru. In text 6, Vyasadeva tells Narad Muni, Savai Bhavan Veda Samasta Bhuyam Upashito Yat Purusha Purana Paravareshado Manasva Vishwam Srajati Avati Atti Gunair Asanga. So now Vyasadeva is telling Narad Muni, my dear Narada, you please correct me. The question is, how does Narad Muni know everything? So the answer is here, my dear Narada, you know everything because you worship that Supreme Lord who knows everything. Therefore, you have all knowledge. So Prabhupada explains here, anyone who is 100% engaged in the service of Krishna, Krishna empowers such a person with knowledge. There's a verse in Bhagavad Gita which says, similar mood. The same principle comes in Bhagavad Gita. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. This is the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I think the 8th verse. Lord Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Anyone who worships Krishna 24 hours a day, just like Narad Muni. If someone worships Krishna like this, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Lord Krishna says, I give knowledge to such a person. Because all knowledge is coming from Krishna. If you are worshipping Krishna, whatever knowledge is needed, Krishna will give you. And who is Krishna? Here it says, Srajati avati ati guner asanga. Krishna, he creates, maintains, annihilates, but still he is not part of this world. Srajati avati ati guner asanga. He creates, maintains, annihilates, but still he is not part of this material creation. He is completely transcendental. Just like you have a spider, na? A spider with its own saliva, it creates a web. What is the web? It's coming from the saliva of the spider. The spider creates the web, maintains it, and then the spider at the end, it takes the full web into its own system only. It eats the entire web back. So everything has come from him, right? Perfect ecosystem, yeah, sustainable model the spider creates. And the spider is completely aloof. Others get caught in this web, but the spider doesn't get caught. So similarly, anyone who worships this Krishna, who is the creator, maintainer, destroyer, such a person is empowered with all knowledge. And in text 7, Vyasadeva further glorifies Narad Muni as all pervasive. He says, Tvam paryatam arka iva trilokin अंतश्चरो वायुर इवात्म साक्षी परावरे ब्रह्मणि धर्मतो वृते स्नातस्य मे न्यूनम अलम विचक्ष्व. Says, my dear Narada, you are such a great devotee of the Lord. Just like air can travel anywhere, air can just go everywhere, and just like the sun can travel in the three worlds, or just like the Paramatma is there in everyone's heart, similarly, because you are connected to that Supreme Lord, you can enter into my heart and find the deficiency in me. Just like Krishna knows everything in everyone's heart, similarly, someone who's empowered by Krishna, he knows everything that is happening in the heart of a sincere disciple. So in this way, Vyasadeva submits to Narad Muni, please find the deficiency in me and tell me what my fault is. Why I am not satisfied, why I am not feeling that satisfaction. So in this whole section, we find how Vyasadeva, he is so very humble in front of his Guru, and he is surrendering to his Guru very, very sincerely in utter humility. And after surrendering, Narad Muni from verse 8 onwards begins his diagnosis. So Narad Muni is like a doctor here. Actually, Vyasadeva is a patient. Vyasadeva is also a doctor. He is giving a solution to people. But when a doctor becomes sick, the doctor also goes to another doctor. Right? So Vyasadeva is going to his superior doctor Narad Muni and is trying to find out, please tell what my root problem is, what is the diagnosis, why I am not happy. And now Narad Muni, who is such an expert doctor, just the next verse, Vyasadeva submitted to Narad Muni in verse number 8. 7th verse Vyasadeva submitted. In verse number 8, Narad Muni has a clear answer why Vyasadeva is not satisfied, why he is feeling dissatisfaction. A very important verse. Shri Narada Uvacha Bhavata Anudita Prayam Yasho Bhagavato Malam Yenai Vaso Natushyeta Manye Tad Darshanam Kilam. So Narad Muni says, my dear Vyasadeva, Bhavata Anudita Prayam Yasho Bhagavato Malam. The reason you are dissatisfied is you have not praised the Lord sufficiently. Anudita Prayam means almost not praised. You have not praised the Lord sufficiently, who is spotlessly pure, and therefore that philosophy, Manye Tat Darshanam Kilam. Kilam means inferior. Darshan means philosophy. Philosophy in Hindi is called Darshan Shastra. Yeah, Darshan. Na? So that philosophy that doesn't glorify Krishna, that doesn't glorify that Supreme Lord, is considered imperfect or inferior. So Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva, you have done a great job by writing all these Vedas. It's not an easy thing to write so much. But Narad Muni is telling him, because all this in Vedic literatures, they are like lakhs and lakhs of verses. So Narad Muni is asking him, you have written lakhs and lakhs of verses. How many of those verses are directly glorifying Krishna? It's not directly glorifying Krishna. Therefore, you are feeling dissatisfied. So Prabhupada writes here that if the author of the Vedas is not satisfied after writing the Vedas, how will readers of the Vedas be satisfied? If the author itself is dissatisfied, after reading Vedas, what satisfaction you are going to experience? Therefore, if you want satisfaction, you have to read Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the necessity for Srimad Bhagavatam that Narad Muni felt. Text 9. Yata dharma dayascharta muni varyanu-kirtita Ratata vasudevasya mahimna hi anuvarnita. So Vyasadeva, he will tell Narad Muni, but I have glorified Krishna. It's not that I am not glorified. So Narad Muni tells him, definitely in all your Vedic literatures you have glorified Krishna, but the amount of stress you have given to Purushartha, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, that much stress you have not given to Krishna Bhakti. Right? So Vedic literatures, there's a lot of stress on dharmic karya. And what is dharma? For people in this world, people do dharmic rituals for what? Because they want kama, sense gratification. Right? Or they want money, artha. Right? So people in this world, even they perform religious activities. Like in the Vedas, you have sections which speak about Indra Puja, Chandra Puja, and all these worship of various demigods. And why do people worship various demigods? Because they want a certain desire fulfilled. So Narad Muni is telling him, you have given so much emphasis on these 4 Purushartha, you have not given emphasis on Bhakti, which is considered to be the Panchama Purushartha, which is considered to be superior than these 4 Purushartha. So all of you all know this 4 Purushartha: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Dharma means religious duties. Dharma, Artha means money. Kama means sense gratification. And at the end, Moksha. But Bhakti is what? Bhakti is superior even to Moksha. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Lord Krishna says, after liberation, one actually starts the process of Bhakti. So that means, Prabhupada writes in the second paragraph, after liberation, which is the last item in the line of performing religiosity, one is engaged in pure devotional service. So that means the process of bhakti that we are getting in this movement so easily, it is superior even to the 4 Purushartha. Krishna may give liberation to people easily. Mukti Krishna will give. But bhakti Krishna doesn't give very, very easily. So Narad Muni is telling him that you have not sufficiently glorified Krishna or Krishna Bhakti as much you have given emphasis to Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So Narad Muni has given 2 reasons why Vyasadeva is dissatisfied. One is insufficient glorification of Krishna. Like simple thing. If you are feeling hungry, अगर आपको भूख लग रहा है, if you are given 1 chapati, will you feel satisfied? No. That means you have got food, but it is insufficient. So similarly, Vyasadeva has glorified Krishna, but in an insufficient way. And second thing, the second bigger problem is, he has overemphasized the 4 Purushartha. He shouldn't have emphasized that so much. He should have given more focus to the process of bhakti. In text 10 and 11 are very important verses. In fact, every verse of this chapter is important. In text 10, Narad Muni tells about materialistic literatures. See, in this world, everyone loves to read books. Books is something that everyone loves. Right? There are so many bookstores coming up, and everyone loves to take books. So Narad Muni is telling here the difference between materialistic books and transcendental book, like SRIMAD Bhagavatam. Narad Muni is putting Vedic literatures almost in the level of materialistic books or somewhere in between. He is not putting them completely in the level of transcendental literatures. So he tells Vyasadeva, what is the problem with materialistic literatures? Text 10. Nayatvachas chitra padam hareryasho jagat pavitram praganita karhichit tadvayasam tirtam ushnanti manasa nayatra hamsa niramanti ushikshaya. So Narad Muni tells, those words that do not glorify Krishna, or those words or those books that don't glorify Krishna are like what? Tad Vayasam Tirtam Ushnanti Manasa. Vayasam Tirtam means a pilgrimage of crows. Vayasam is crows. Kawa. Where do crows go? Have you all seen crows flocking together? Where will crows come together? Either garbage or some animal is dead, they will go there. So where will crows gather? In rotten, dirty things. So Narad Muni is telling, literatures that don't glorify Krishna are literally dirt, or literally like useless things. And who will read them? People who have this crow mentality or seeking rubbish will read them. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, you have like so many of these dead literatures. Crows love dead animals. So people read dead literatures. What does dead literatures means? Literatures that speak about the body. And body is dead, right? Body is dead or alive? Huh? Body is dead or alive?
Life.
Body is dead. Body is never alive. Just because of the presence of the soul, the body appears to be alive. The body is always dead, right? The body has no life. Earth, water, fire, air, ether have no life of its own. Just because soul is there, the body appears to be alive. So who takes pleasure in dead bodies? Crows take pleasure. So similarly, people who love to read subject matters related to this body, right? They are like crows. There's another set of birds called swans. Have you all heard of swans? Hansa. Where you will find swans flocking together? Huh? Have you all seen swans?
Yes.
In clean water. A crystal clear, beautiful place, you will see swans. And there's a difference in color also, no? Crows are black in color, swans are white in color. And you will never find both these species going together. Will you find that among all crows there is one swan sitting, or among all the swans there is a crow sitting? Right? Birds of the same feather flock together. You will find their mentality is completely different. And the place is also completely different. So similarly, people who are of this crow mentality or fly mentality, they will eat all this, they will read all these rubbish books. But people who are Ushnanti Manasa, who are like very elevated thinkers, very elevated souls, they are like swans. Therefore, great personalities are called Paramahamsa. Paramahamsa means great swan-like thinkers who don't take pleasure in rubbish things. They find their pleasure in books that glorify Krishna. So Narad Muni is making a clear difference. Books that don't glorify Krishna are rubbish. It's useless, completely waste of time. Only books that glorify Krishna are important. And in the next verse, he is glorifying SRIMAD Bhagavatam, or books, words that glorify Krishna. Tadvag visargo janatagla viplavo Yasmin prati shlokam abatvati api Namani anantasya yasho nikitani yat Shranvanti gayanti grinanti sadhava. So materialistic books are like books for crows, pilgrimage of crows. Prabhupada uses the word pilgrimage of crows, right? Like always, give this example. We went to Vrindavan now. You have like lakhs of people going to Vrindavan in Kartik month, because that is pilgrimage for devotees. And similarly, you have lakhs of people coming to Goa also, right? For their own pilgrimage, Tirth Yatra. And we know what is their Tirth Yatra is, right? And what we know what is their Charnamrit is. So everyone has their own definition of Charnamrit, Prasad, or whatever you call it, right? So there's a big difference. Mentalities are completely different. So books that, like Srimad Bhagavatam, that glorify Krishna, Tattva Visargo Janatagla Viplava. The word Viplava means revolution. Viplava is revolution. So when we read Bhagavatam, books that glorify Krishna, what happens? Janatagla Viplava. There is a revolution in consciousness. The hearts of people which is filled with sin. Aga means sin. The hearts of people which is filled with sin, all the sin is removed by reading words that glorify Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, now, just yesterday we were celebrating Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day. We have 1,200 ISKCON temples and centers in 120 countries around the world, which is like no other organization has this kind of reach. People around the world taking to a pure life of giving up meat eating, intoxication, no tea, coffee, no onion, garlic. This is like a big thing. It's a revolution. You tell Indians, what to speak of foreigners, you tell Indians give up tea, coffee, it's difficult for them. They just can't do it. Give up onion, garlic, difficult for them. But Prabhupada has centers around the world, and devotees around the world, so many people have taken up to this pure life. 24 hours serving Krishna, wearing dhoti kurta, tilak, kanti. How has all this started? when Srila Prabhupada went to America on that first voyage on Jaladuta ship, Prabhupada had 200 sets of first canto of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. This is what Prabhupada carried. Prabhupada didn't have any money with him. This is what he carried. And based on this SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, the ISKCON revolution has happened. So therefore, and Prabhupada writes a very beautiful purport. I hope all of you all are going back and reading purports. Please try to do that. When did Prabhupada write this? Prabhupada wrote this in Radha Damodar temple, in the rooms at Radha Damodar temple. We recently went to the Vrindavan Yatra. Sitting in those small rooms, Prabhupada is writing this book. And while writing this purport, Prabhupada is confident that this Bhagavatam can create a revolution in this world. Prabhupada has not even ventured out of India. Prabhupada is still in Vrindavan, but he has confidence in Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Bhagavatam is very, very powerful because it can bring about a revolution in people's life. Namani anantasya yasho nikitani yat shranvanti gayanti grinanti sadhava. So therefore people who are honest, they will hear shranvanti, they will sing gayanti, grinanti is they will accept. So Prabhupada, while writing, if you read this purport, Prabhupada mentions his heart. Prabhupada is thinking, I don't know whether I'll be able to preach or not, but Prabhupada is confident that honest people in the world, intelligent people in this world, they will hear this message, they will sing this message, and they will accept this message. And when they accept this message, purification is bound to happen. They will definitely be purified. In text 12, Narad Muni says, Naishkarmyam api achyuta bhava varjitam na shobhate jnanam alam niranjanam kuta puna shashvat abhadram ishware na charpitam karma yat api akaranam. So Narad Muni says, very beautiful words. He says, even we have seen that Narad Muni, materialistic literatures, Narad Muni has rejected completely. He's saying that's like useless, like dirt, garbage basically, it's useless. But Narad Muni is saying here, Naishkarmyam api achyuta bhava varjitam. Naishkarmyam means subjects that speak about self-realization. So Vyasadeva will say, Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva that books that don't glorify Krishna are useless. Materialistic books. But Vyasadeva will say, Narada, my Vedas are not materialistic. How can you say Vedas are materialistic? Vedas are completely spiritual. Vedas speak about self-realization. Narada Muni is telling, my dear Vyas, even books that speak about self-realization, even books that speak about spiritual topics, Achyuta Bhava Varjitam. Achyuta Bhava, Achyuta is the name of Krishna. Achyuta Bhava basically means Krishna consciousness. Books that speak about spiritual topics, but there is no Krishna in that, even that knowledge is not correct. Na shobhate jnanam alam niranjanam. Such knowledge is not pleasing. It's like decoration of a dead body. Like in the Christian religion, when they bury departed souls, they dress them perfectly. And how do they dress them? Like the wedding dress. Perfect makeup they do and then they bury. Now what is the use of decorating a dead body? So similarly, Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva, materialistic books are useless. But even so-called spiritual books that don't glorify Krishna sufficiently, na shobhate, shobha nahi deta. Such knowledge is not pleasing. And Narad Muni says, if spiritual knowledge without Krishna is not pleasing, what to speak of karma without Krishna? If Gyan only is not pleasing, what to speak about karma? So generally, when people take to spiritual life now, there are three understandings or three paths: karma, jnana, bhakti. These are three paths, right? And many people feel that you do anything, it's all the same. But Narad Muni is very clear here. It's not the same. It's not the same. So Narad Muni is telling here, even if you are a jnani, but if in that jnana there is no Krishna, that jnana will not help you. And if you are karmi, in that karma there is no Krishna, that karma is not going to help you. But if there is bhakti, In bhakti, jnana, karma are included. Understanding the process? The understanding is jnana, karma without bhakti is useless. But if you have bhakti and you don't have jnana, karma, you're not doing it separately, it is understood that it will come automatically. There's a verse in the second chapter of this same canto, we discussed this. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahetukam. So it says that when you perform bhakti to Vasudev Krishna, Jnana Karma Mukti automatically come. Understanding? That means bhakti is independent of Jnana and Karma. Jnana and Karma are dependent on bhakti for success. Even a jnani needs some amount of bhakti to become successful. A karmi needs bhakti to become successful. But a bhakta doesn't need karma and jnana because bhakti is completely independent of these two processes. Understanding this point? Are you all able to appreciate till here? A little technical, a little deep, but very important. So if you all go back and read the purports, you'll be able to make the connections very easily. In the next verse, text 13, Narad Muni is glorifying Vyasdev. Now, literally Narad Muni has done a surgery of Vyasdev's heart without anesthesia. Surgery without anesthesia is painful. So Narad Muni has done like a clear open heart surgery of Vyasdev. Vyasdev, he spent years and years writing Vedas and writing all this. Narad Muni is straight telling him everything is useless. So now Vyasdev will get into a major depression. What will happen? So now Narad Muni is glorifying Vyasdev. Text 13. Ato Mahabhaga Bhavanamo Gadrak Shuchishrava Satyadato Drita Vrita Urukramasya Kila Bandha Muktaye Samadhina Anusmara Tad Vichestitam. So Narad Muni is telling Vyasdev, my dear Vyasdev, Mahabhaga, Ato Mahabhaga, you are very, very fortunate. Amogadrik, your vision is perfect. Shuchishrava, your fame is spotless. Satyavrato, you are very, very truthful. Dharmavrata, you are very firm in your Dhritavrata, you are very firm in your vows. And you know the process how people can get liberated. And what is the process? Urukramasya Akila Bandha Muktaye. Urukrama means Krishna. This is one of the name of Krishna. Urukrama is one of the name of Krishna. What does Urukrama mean? Urukrama means one who does extraordinary work. Extraordinary lila is called Urukrama. So here Narad Muni is telling people, when you write a book which speaks about the extraordinary pastimes of Krishna, what will happen? Bandha Muktaye, people will become liberated. The same mood is there in Bhagavad Gita. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvata tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti swarjanam. This is Narad Muni telling about Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells about himself. Anyone who understands the birth activities of Krishna, he doesn't have to come back to this world. He is liberated. So the way you get liberation is by glorifying Krishna. The highest kind of liberation. So in this way, Narad Muni is trying to inspire Vyasdev, and Prabhupada writes in the purport, see, people in this world want books. People love to read books. But if you don't have books that speak about the activities of Krishna, they will read books of the heroes and heroines of this world because they want to read something. They want a storyline to read. So personalities like Narad Muni, they want people to read books, but read books about the right personality, about Krishna. So if people love to read books about fights, or people love to read books about politics, people love to read books about romance. If you have any of these emotions in you, everything you can read in Krishna Leela. You can read Ramayana, you can read Krishna Leela, you'll find all these things together. Krishna, how he kidnapped Rukmani, Krishna, how he fought with Narakasura, Kamsa, all these demons. All your emotions can be satisfied in Krishna Leela. So that's why Narad Muni is telling Vyasdev, you please describe about Krishna. In text 14, Narad Muni tells Vyasa, Tato anyata kinchana tad vichakshata पृथक दृशस्तत्कृत रूप नाम भी न कर्हिचित् पापी च दुष्यिता मतेन लभेत वाताहत नौर इवास्पदम. You see, in the Vedic literatures, Vyasadeva has definitely mentioned bhakti, but he has mentioned karma, he has mentioned jnana. Through all this, what has happened? People have become confused. So here the word here is Dushyita Matir. Dushyita Mati is oscillating mind. People don't know whether they should do karma, whether they should do jnana, whether they should do yoga, whether they should do bhakti. People are confused because everything is given in the Vedic literatures. Whether they should do this, they should do that. Not only that, Vyasadeva has given a list of all the Devata worship. 33 crore demigods. You do this, you worship this Devata, this Devata. Now people don't know whom to worship. They're completely confused because they don't have a focus. They are oscillating in mind. So Prabhupada explains here, until you have a clear goal, you will never be peaceful. You will always remain agitated. The example is given here. That's like a boat. If a boat doesn't have, it's not anchored, the boat will be oscillated by the winds like anything. It will keep rocking here and there. The winds will keep throwing the boat here and there. So you need an anchor. Anchor means someone who has taken shelter of some goal. People who read Vedic literatures, they don't have a goal. Monday they will worship this Devata, Tuesday they will worship this. They are like completely lost and they don't know. So they are just oscillating here and there. So Narad Muni is trying to in fact chastise Vyasadeva that you shouldn't have written all this. You have royally confused people. You may have done it with a good intention, but that intention has turned out to be something else. Now people are completely confused. They don't know, when we do these talks to people, people have this question that Shiv Puran says Shiva is God, Vishnu Puran says Vishnu is God. Who's God? So therefore Narad Muni is telling people, Vyasadeva, that you have actually confused people because you have not given them a clear, definite goal. So now write a book that gives the goal very clear. Whom we have to worship and how to worship. Make it very clear whom the person to be worshipped and the process to be followed to attain that goal. Make it very, very clear. In text 15, so Narad Muni, you can see, he's so intelligent. He is giving like a clear-cut diagnosis of what is the issue. He's not saying that you have not done a good job. You have done a great job. But what are the defects in this? So Prabhupada explains here, it requires a very expert person to actually find out defects like this. And a guru is one who can actually find this very subtle defects. In text 15, Narad Muni says, Jugupshitam dharma krite nushasata subhavadaktasya mahan vyatikrama yadvakto dharma iti tara stito na manyate tasya nivaranam jana. So Vyasadeva, he'll have a counter argument to Narad Muni, but Narada, I have done this to elevate people slowly. Like in Vedic literatures, you have something which mentions about Ashwamedh Yagya, Gomedh Yagya, animal sacrifices. And what is the idea of animal sacrifices? The idea is people who are too addicted to meat eating, they will at least slow down. Right? In an animal sacrifice, technically on the day of Amavasya, you don't sacrifice an animal on any other day. On the day of Amavasya, you choose one of the lower animals like a goat or a sheep and do a particular process to Mother Kali and then you sacrifice. The whole idea is to restrict. But Narad Muni is telling, you have done it with the idea to curtail the enjoyment and slowly help people transcend. But Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva, people have a natural tendency to enjoy. And now that you have mentioned in the Vedas, enjoy, but enjoy through this, people will not follow that yagya. What will people say? Vyasadeva has told, enjoy. They will do enjoyment only. So in Vedic literatures, there are parts which speak about enjoyment, regulated enjoyment, and parts that speak about prohibitions. do's and don'ts. So Narad Muni is telling people will conveniently follow what they want to do, the enjoyment part, and the prohibition people will not follow. They will just do it and they will say, Vyasdev has done it, mentioned it, so no problem, just enjoy. So Narad Muni is telling Vyasdev that what you have done is actually completely wrong. What you have done is completely wrong because you have compromised the spirit. You know what is compromise? Because you have compromised the spirit. The idea was that people will slowly elevate, but Narad Muni is telling people will remain stuck on that level only. They will not go higher because things have been compromised. So in this way, Narad Muni is basically advising Vyasdev that people are not intelligent. See, if you read the Vedas very intelligently, very expertly, you will come to the conclusion that Krishna is God and Bhakti is the highest. But Narad Muni in the next verse, I will not read that verse. Narad Muni says only expert people can decode what you have written in the Vedas. Most people will not be able to understand only. It will go bouncers. It will go beyond them. So now what you do, my dear Vyas, you write a book that will help even common people understand what the goal is without any confusion, or as they say in English, no beating around the bush. Straight you tell people who has to be worshipped and how he has to be worshipped. In text 17, so basically in text 16, Narad Muni is advising Vyasdev, please describe the Lord's activities directly. Now in text 17, Narad Muni tells Vyasdev that the path of bhakti is so great. Right? So till now basically, what is Narada's mood? He's trying to inspire Vyasdev to write a book that glorifies Krishna and glorifies the process of bhakti. So now in text 17, a very beautiful verse, Narad Muni tells Vyasdev, the process of bhakti is so great that while following the process of bhakti, even when someone falls down, still there is no loss. We can repeat this verse. Tyaktva swadharmam charanambujam hare bhajan apakvota pati tato yadi yatra kva bhabhadram abudha amosya kim ko varta apto bhajatam swadharmata. So Narad Muni is giving a great comparison. Please understand this. You'll get the crux of the mood of Narada. See, Vyasdev has written the Vedic literatures so that people follow Varnashram Dharma. You know what is Varnashram Dharma? Like 4 Varnas, 4 Ashrama. 4 Varnas are Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and 4 Ashramas, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. So Vyasdev has written all these books that how a Grahastha should be. A Grahastha should be able to enjoy also, seek liberation also. He's given all these ideas, how a Brahman should be, how a Kshatriya should be. His whole idea was that people will follow Varnashram and slowly they will come to the path of bhakti. Through Varnashram, they will come to the path of bhakti. But Narad Muni is telling Vyasdev his conclusion, his realization. He tells, Tyaktva charanam swadharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajan apakvot pate tato yadi. So if someone is following all the rules and regulations of Varnashram, according to Vyasdev, according to Vedic literatures, someone is a perfect Brahmana, a perfect Vaishya, or someone is a perfect Grahastha, Brahmachari, perfect, all the rules and regulations followed. But if that person doesn't worship Krishna, Narad Muni is saying everything is useless. On the other hand, if someone performs the path of bhakti, takes to the path of bhakti, and doesn't do it perfectly, he falls down from the path, still Narad Muni says there is no loss. So he is doing a comparison, and someone who follows Varnashram perfectly but doesn't do bhakti, there is no gain. Someone who does bhakti but doesn't complete it, there is no loss. Because he has taken to the shelter of Krishna, even if he doesn't complete it, Krishna will help him in the next life and will continue from there. So Narad Muni is making like a very strong comparison here. You put bhakti in one part, one side, and you put karma, jnana, yoga, in all these things on the other side. The path of bhakti is superior. Even if you make a mistake, even if you are imperfect, even if you don't complete it, still be on the path of bhakti rather than doing all these things perfectly. You're getting the point? So that is the point that Narad Muni is making here. A devotee, even if he falls down, it is better than to be a non-devotee and following all the other dharmas perfectly. And Prabhupada in the purport gives 3 examples. One is of Bharat Maharaj, one is of King Chitraketu, and one is of Ajamin. All of them were following the path of bhakti, but they fell down, but Krishna helped them progress in their spiritual life. So in this way, Narad Muni is saying, bhakti is so great that even if someone falls down in the process of bhakti, still it is better. Such a person is still worshipable. In text 18, Narad Muni says, Tasyaiva heto prayate tako vidao na labhyate yat brahmatam uparihada tallabhyate dukkhavat anyata sukam kalena sarvatra gabira ramhasa. Very beautiful verse. Narad Muni is saying, Tasyaiva heto prayatet kovido. Kovido means one who is very intelligent. So Narad Muni is saying, someone who is highly intelligent, what he should aspire for? What should we want in life? He's saying, find a goal that is the topmost, higher than even Brahma Loka, Patal Loka, higher than everything. Find a goal and work hard to reach that goal. That's what should be the purpose of life. So Narad Muni is basically telling Vyasdev that the highest goal is to achieve Krishna, and to achieve Krishna one should be ready to pay any price. If your goal is great, once you are focused on what your goal is, and if the goal is great, be ready to work hard. It maybe in this lifetime, maybe in many lifetimes, but don't settle for anything other than the highest. And what is the highest? Shelter of Krishna. This is what Narad Muni says. And he says, as far as enjoyment is concerned, tal labhyate dukkhavat anyata sukam. He says, as far as enjoyment is concerned, in this world it will come on its own. Just like misery comes on its own. Do we work hard to become miserable? No, misery comes on its own. No? So similarly, Narad Muni says, just like material misery comes on its own, material happiness also will come on its own. You don't have to work hard for that. You have to work hard for what? Endeavor for the highest and the rarest thing. And what is the rarest thing? Bhakti to Krishna. That is the rarest. This is what Narad Muni says. Can we do 1 or 2 verses? Because technical subject matter, I don't know how much ahead I should go. Anyone has any questions, any comments till here?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Vasudeva is actually Lord only.
Correct.
Correct. So, Narada has become Shishya, I think, Guru, because of Loka Shiksha.
Because of?
Loka Shiksha. Just to tell us that.
Correct.
Correct? Is it that?
Yeah. That's all. That understanding is also there.
Because he knows everything.
Correct. Yeah. So
all this thing, what is done, is just to tell us that what should be done.
yeah, that's also correct. Yeah. So basically, through this, Vyasdev, we already saw that even before Narad Muni's entry, Vyasdev had already got a hint. He already knew why he is dissatisfied. But when Narad Muni comes, he is taking shelter of Narad Muni also to set an example that however great you are, you have to surrender and be submissive to your own superior guru. The need for accepting a guru. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport that Vyasdev surrendered to his guru. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he himself accepted a guru. Lord Ram accepted a guru. So similarly, accepting a guru is something that is important in life. Anything else? Any other question? Yeah.
Prabhuji, you told about 4 ashrams, like that is Brahmacharya, Grasthavan, Grastha and Sannyas. And what kind of time a person should adapt the sannyas ashram?
Oh. Mataji wants to become a sannyasi soon. So yeah, good question. So the time duration is basically like this, that till the age of 25, someone follows brahmachari life, right, ideally. And then at 2025, someone enters into, if they want, they enter into grahastha life. And at the age of 50, you enter vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means retirement. You retire from material life so that you focus more on spiritual life. So vanaprastha is a time when, by the time of 50, because the couple has married when they were 20-25, by the time they reach 50, the children are already old enough. They take up the responsibilities. So parents, the couple becomes retired so that they focus more on their spiritual life. Because the idea is that before death, one has to focus more and more on Krishna. Right? So married life means you have entered into an entanglement. So you are slowly disentangling yourself. At the age of 50, you start the process of disentangling. And at the age of 75, the husband he can become a sannyasi. There is no concept of sannyasi for a lady. The lady just remains at home or with her son and just continues the path. And that's the whole idea. Till 25 brahmachari, 25 to 50 grahastha, 50 to 75 vanaprastha, and then 75 beyond sannyas. That's the idea.
But nowadays, probably many people they don't live till 75.
Yeah, so you can take sannyas little earlier. Good question, yes. So we have to change the ages a little. But the idea is, the idea of sannyas doesn't necessarily mean just a change of dress. The idea of sannyas is the idea of renunciation within.
This is vairagya.
Vairagya, yeah. That's the idea of sannyas. And what does vairagya mean? Vairagya means becoming more and more attached to Krishna. That's what Narad Muni is mentioning here. Detachment basically means more and more attachment to Krishna. That's how detachment will happen. So the idea of, as age is progressing, we have to be praying to become more and more attached to Krishna. That is Kunti Maharani's prayer, no? We are still in the 5th chapter. The 8th chapter is Kunti Maharani's prayer. Kunti Maharani was also a lady. She's praying to Krishna, my dear Krishna, I have a lot of attachment to my family members of my husband's side, my father's side. Because a lady has two families, husband's family and father's family, right? And both keeps playing in the lady's mind. So Kunti Maharani is telling the Lord, please break my attachments to my family members so that I can become more and more attached to you. So that's the spirit of sannyas. Okay, I would have loved to finish this chapter actually. Can we do 1 or 2 more verses?
Yeah.
And then we will stop. If we can even do till 22. Till 22, one section is over, and from 23, Narad Muni starts to speak about his life. Let's at least do till 22. Text 19. Navai jano jatu katancanam vrajen Mukunda sevi anvayat anga samsritim Smaran mukundangri upagunam punar Vihantum ichena rasagraho jana. So in the previous verse he mentioned that better than to follow the varnashram perfectly is to follow bhakti imperfectly. Or better to be like successful in varnashram is to be a failure in bhakti. A failure in bhakti is greater than one who is successful in varnashram. That's the idea Narad Muni is telling. Why? In this verse he says, because even a failure in bhakti is not a failure. Why? Because anyone who has tasted Vihantu mechena rasa graha jana. Anyone who has tasted bhakti. Bhakti means anyone who has tasted some rasa in connection with Krishna. Such a person, even if he falls down, he will keep remembering that rasa and very soon he will come back. The Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter, there are 2 verses where Lord Krishna says, Apiche suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bha sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito hi sa shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat dharma nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. 2 verses. Lord Krishna says, if someone is a devotee, but somehow, because Maya is very powerful, he commits some wrong activities, still Lord Krishna says he should be considered a sadhu. Because Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma, very soon he'll become a Dharmatma. Why? Because Krishna's promise is Kaunteya Pratijanehi Name Bhakta Pranashyati. Because Krishna will never allow his devotees to perish. Anyone who has taken up the process of bhakti, it is Krishna's responsibility to make a person successful. Krishna doesn't take responsibility for a karmi jnani. Krishna says, Name Bhakta Pranashyati. Krishna doesn't say, Name Jnani Pranashyati. Krishna says, only my devotee will never perish because I take responsibility. Soon such a person will come back to the path of bhakti. So, Narad Muni concludes, text 20, he says, Idam hi vishwam bhagavani vetaro yato jagatstana nirodha sambhavan taddi swayam veda bhavam statapite pradesha matram bhavata pradarshitam. So the conclusion is, Krishna, who is the essence, Krishna, he himself is this material world, but still he is away from this material world. Everything in this material world rests in Krishna. So basically, the conclusion Narad Muni is saying, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Krishna is that essence. So, my dear Vyasa, I have given you a synopsis. Synopsis means essence. Now you expand this in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, these set of verses are the synopsis that Narad Muni is giving Vyasadeva. That how Krishna is the essence of everything. This material world, beyond this world, everything is Krishna. So please expand the subject of Krishna more and more. And therefore we find the first verse of Bhagavatam, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhi Yasyata. Everything starting from birth ultimately comes from Krishna. And then he tells in the next verse, I will not read that verse, text 21. So basically he tells Vyasadeva, my dear Vyasadeva, you are birthless. He himself, Vyasadeva himself is an avatar of the Lord. He's come in a very divine way and he's appeared for the well-being of people. And Vyasadeva already knows about Krishna. So he tells Vyasadeva that you are already a great spiritual master. Please write about Krishna. And the same point we were mentioning, source question, Prabhupada mentions here that even though Vyasadeva is an avatar of the Lord, still he accepted a guru through this pastime to show how important it is to accept. Accept a guru. The last verse, text 22, and then we'll stop for today. Yes. Idam hi pumsam tapasa shrutasya va shivatsya shuktasya cha buddhi dattayo avichuto rata kavibir nirupito yad uttama shloka gunanuvarnanam. Very beautiful verse. He says, it is concluded by the learned circles, idam hi pumsa tapasya shrutasya va. Shrutasya is the way of education. Shivatsya is performing yagya. Sukritasya is performing pious activity. Sukriti. Buddhi dattayo. Buddhi means the act of knowledge. Dattayo is charity. So Narad Muni is saying here, whether one is on the path of jnana knowledge, whether one is studying the Vedic scriptures, whether one is performing austerity, yagya, giving charity, ultimately what you should be doing, yat uttama shloka gunanuvarnitam. Ultimately, the success of every of these items depends on glorifying Krishna. Gunanuvarnanam, glorifying Krishna more and more. So Prabhupada writes in this purport, see, there are different departments. There is arts, there is science, there is poetry, there is education, there is culture, there is so many departments. What is Narad Muni's advice to Vyasadeva is, in all these various departments, use every department to glorify Krishna. Gunarnu Varnanam. Then that department is perfect. We were discussing yesterday, Srila Prabhupada, way back in the 1970s, Prabhupada started something called Bhaktivedanta Institute. In ISKCON, Prabhupada started something called BI, Bhaktivedanta Institute, where Prabhupada told his scientist devotees, they were like scientists in this movement, Prabhupada told them, through science, glorify Krishna. Because if you study science properly, you will understand Krishna's miracle everywhere. So he said, please, through science, because people love science in this world, you are a scientist, use science to glorify Krishna. So there were people who were painters. Prabhupada said, use your painting to glorify Krishna. So what is the principle of Kirtan? Kirtan means to spread the Kirti of Krishna more and more. So whether you are a speaker, whether you are a writer, whether you are a painter, whether you are a scientist, whether you are a cook or a pujari, in all these processes, whatever you are doing, use your activity to glorify Krishna more and more. If you are a businessman, do business for Krishna so that you can get Lakshmi for Krishna's service. Use everything that Krishna has given you to glorify Krishna, then it is perfect. Then it is called Hari Kirtanam. So Narad Muni is that expert doctor who is encouraging Vyasadeva, please write a book that will help people dovetail their own propensities, whatever we have, to glorify Krishna more and more, and that is the perfection of life. So here we end a very big section where Narad Muni is giving his conclusions, his instructions to Vyasadeva, telling Vyasadeva that you have written Vedas, that's good, but please write Bhagavatam, which will clearly give people a definite goal and how to reach Krishna, the process, a definite process to reach that goal. That's how Narad Muni concludes this. And from 23 onwards, Narad Muni speaks about his life. Narad Muni is an authority now. He's got this body where he can see Krishna face to face. How did he get this? By following the process of SRIMAD Bhagavatam, by hearing Bhagavatam, Narad Muni gives his own story. A very beautiful section. That part 2 of this chapter we will do the next time. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I think we will stop here. This Monday is the last Monday of Kartik month. So I think we'll have Deepnan.
Yes.
We'll do Damodar Ashtakam and then Deepnan also. So coming, yeah. Yes. How is bhakti superior to moksha? Because, good question. So there are 3 ways you can answer this. Because the understanding of moksha that most people have, general idea of moksha is freedom from suffering. Like if you say, like for a student, what is liberation for a student? Exam is over, the student is liberated. It's not that the student has attained like bliss, just that he doesn't have any suffering now, right? So moksha, like you have an axis now, we have that axis line, right? Positive, negative, right? So moksha is like 0. If material life is like negative, material life matlab dukhalayam ashashvatam, everything is negative here. So moksha is reaching a point of 0. Aham brahmasmi, yeah, reaching that Brahma Jyoti, people consider moksha, where there is no suffering. But spiritual life begins beyond that. So 0 is not everything. Beyond 0, there is a positive axis also. And that's what is spiritual life. So most people's understanding, when we hear the word moksha, most people's understanding is merge into that supreme Brahma Jyoti, where there is no more suffering, no more bodies, that's it. But they don't understand the principle of positive service. And that's where a path of bhakti starts. So therefore, we will hear about Shukdev Goswami later. Who was Shukdev Goswami? Shukdev Goswami was a liberated soul from birth. From birth he was liberated. When he was there in the womb of his mother, Vyasadev's son Shukadev, in the womb of his mother he was a liberated soul. He didn't want to come out only because he knew that as soon as I come out, Maya will attract me. He didn't want to come out. And he was such a liberated soul. We saw the previous chapter in the beginning. When Shukdev Goswami was walking, he saw young girls taking bath naked. But Shukdev Goswami was not seeing them on the bodily level only. He was completely on a spiritual level. But that Shukdev Goswami who left his house as soon as he was born, he came back to his house only to hear Bhagavatam from Vyasadeva. So that means what? He is liberated. He's already liberated. There's no Maya for him. Right? He's already a liberated soul. But still he got attracted to Krishna Bhakti. Because beyond liberation, Krishna Bhakti starts. There's a verse which comes in Bhagavatam, I think one of the cantos ahead, which says that beyond liberation, Bhakti starts. One is the example of Shukdev Goswami. The other example of the Chatush Kumaras. You have heard this Chatush Kumaras? The 4 sons of Brahma, Sanak, Sanatan, Sanatan and Sanak Rishi. Sanat Kumar. The 4 sons of Brahma. They were liberated souls. Brahmavadi, completely liberated. But when they reached Vaikuntha and when they saw Vishnu, when they smelled that fragrance of Tulsi from the feet of Vishnu, from that point on they became bhaktas. They became pure devotees of the Lord. So that means beyond impersonal liberation, that liberation of Shunyavad, zero, beyond that is a process of devotional service. That's what it is. So the process of bhakti is something someone gets even after the path of liberation. So therefore Narad Muni is a liberated soul, right? He is a liberated soul. But what is Narad Muni doing? He is still performing bhakti.
Bhakti is the only key.
Bhakti is the only key, correct. Bhakti is the only key. So Narad Muni has a transcendental body. How many of you all want a body like Narad Muni? Right? Narad Muni's body now, he doesn't need visas to go from one place to another. He can just travel. He doesn't need a flight also. He can just fly anywhere he wants. So people love freedom, na? Prabhupada mentions here, people love freedom. But the kind of freedom Narad Muni has, can anyone have that kind of freedom? He can just go anywhere, everywhere. From Vaikuntha to the lowest planet, he can just go everywhere. And why does he get that freedom? Because he is a devotee of the Lord. Just like a child, parents give children, pocket money. Give children pocket money. But which child you will give more money? Because the child that is responsible, you will entrust that child with more and more power, more and more freedom. So similarly, Narad Muni is a great soul, a devotee of the Lord. Therefore, Narada is entrusted with such kind of freedom. And Prabhupada mentions, Narad Muni tells the story to inspire all of us that if you want this kind of freedom and liberation, completely spiritual, transcendental body, you have to follow the process of bhakti. That's what Narada did in his previous life. If you do that, then we will also get such a destination. That's the idea.
That is where it is.
That's why it's the 5th Purushartha, correct. Okay?
Prabhuji,
Yes.
not question, I want to tell something. Every time you are telling the sufficient glorification of Lord Krishna, till every second, till we never ends His glorification.
Correct.
Yeah. Now also he is doing something for his pure duties. Glorification never ends.
Yeah, glorification never ends. So Mataji is saying basically that Krishna's glorification you have to keep doing more and more. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So coming Sunday we are celebrating Govardhan Puja festival. Govardhan Puja actually got over some time ago.